you will notice that politicians rarely go to church. And when they do, often anyway, when they do, they like to be seen so that it becomes somewhat of a public relations occasion. They watch to see how the churches will vote, but they frequently say you should keep religion out of politics. They don't mix. But notice, won't you, that whether you say that or not, it is a vast hoax on both sides. Both sides, both politics and the church, are involved in that kind of hoax which say the two don't mix. Of course they mix. When we talk of refugees, when we talk of the role of women, when we talk of concerns about sexuality, equality, and the interpretation of justice, religion and politics are vigorous participants. And somewhere there we need imagination. When the cry goes up that religion and politics should not mix, it frequently means that neither side has been reading their Bibles lately. So many seem to be happily blasé about singing Christmas carols down in the shopping centres because their language, the language is so much removed from everyday living. There we are in the world of fairy tales, fictitious angels fluttering their wings around, and nobody stops and says, do you realize Jesus was born to parents who were not married? He and his parents were refugees, displaced persons, hunted, homeless, threatened. The story has been fabricated, of course, by the church, by the churches, into a whole system of beliefs about virgin births and shepherds and all the rest of it. That the faith has been excluded even from human psychology. Isn't that amazing? Don't you think it's amazing that in the schools of psychology around this country, how many of them teach the psychology of faith? Not religious beliefs, but faith. Faith has been left like John Brown's body, and though his soul may keep marching on, our souls have lost the uplift of imagination, the sense of awe and mystery. Once woven into human life from the Old Testament into the New, all that has been woven into human life, but it's been stitched over by many other pressing beliefs, priorities, our cashed up concerns, that awe and mystery are not relevant to the scene that we live out every day. What a pity. Awe and mystery, so deeply part of the human mind and the human imagination. We get a charming glimpse of it in the cradle, at the cradle. Young children, awe and mystery. We may even pause to see awe and mystery on the catafalque at the crematorium. Or the psalmist in the Old Testament walked into the hills and saw the torrents of water gushing through the creviced rocks, and he said, "Deep calls to deep at the sound of thy cataracts." Glimpses of awe and mystery breaking into our awareness, even when we look at the wonders of creation. If we're lucky, and if we're very, very lucky, we may even witness it now and again, the shadows of awe and mystery in the words of a worthwhile conversation. But even our conversation gets lost in chatter and pointlessness. And so I heard one person Two people came together, hadn't seen each other for several years, and one said, "How good to see you, but how you've changed." And the other replied, "You mean I put on weight?" Not a good conversation from that point on. The other day I was at the crematorium and there was a long delay. So in the waiting I wandered through rows and rows of magnificent roses. Each rose bush has at its base the name of a person who once lived, their age, just their name, their age, 64, 46, 85, 91, 27. And I noticed that many of those plaques had stickers, orange stickers that said, "This memorial is expired." I suspect that nobody has been around for quite some time to visit the rose bush. So soon that plaque will be removed. And where it will go, I don't know. But I thought of the words of the psalmist, "And the place thereof shall know it no more." While we have life, will we close down our everyday? Will we be closed down every day by our rush and bustle, by our anxieties and anger, by our commercial concerns and our household and office clutter? Or will we be open to the power of imagination? So many of us have closed it down. And without imagination, the mind and the spirit close down. Albert Einstein says that that man, that woman, might as well be dead. But with imagination, there is the possibility of an uplifting transformation. So before I go further, just let me touch on what happens in our imagination. There are 6 varieties of imagination. Here is the teaching, if you like. First, there is the historical imagination, as we reconstruct in our mind incidents from the past. Then there is empathic imagination, when we enter into the experience of somebody else, the feelings of someone else. Then there is the fantasied imagination, as our imagination goes off in all directions, sometimes controlled and sometimes out of control. And then there is the aspirational imagination, as we imagine what we will do, what we will become, where we will go. And then there is the isolated imagination. We withdraw into ourselves. And sometimes we can add to that an isolated and consensual imagination as we join with others. Isolated and consensual. And then sixthly, there is a calculated imagination. We imagine in our minds certain calculations. In imagination, Isaac Newton wondered how long the distant moon would take to go around the earth. And he found the answer in his imagination.